Hey, Fast, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. I'm trying to figure out why my virtual machine is not coming online. Actually, hang on. I guess it might have just started up. We had some pretty bad storms this week, and I had to shut down my home lab server because the backup battery only lasts for about 2 minutes when it's at full power. So I had to shut it down, and now I'm trying to... I forgot that the lab was offline, so now I'm trying to reconnect to it while the stream starts. Alright, we might have to do a little bit of early troubleshooting tonight. Let's see. So ran into an issue getting a lab kicked off tonight. But wait, actually, it may have finally finished. Let's see. Actually, no, there we go. What did we get? We got an error trying to start the virtual machine here. Let's see, what is our error here? God, that's tiny. Let's see. Ran user bin KVM ID 121, no shutdown. Failed with a timeout. That is unfortunate. Hey, Cypher, what's up, man? So I hit some really bad storms over the week. I had to shut down the home lab server. And everything was shut down gracefully, but now for some reason, the Hack the Bot server is just absolutely not wanting to boot up. So we're going to give it a second here. What's weird is I'm seeing like memory usage and some CPU usage stats come up. However, I'm not seeing it actually run. Let me try this one more time. Actually, it says it started just fine now, so I don't know what the hang-up was the first time. Let's see if we can connect over to it. Hey, all right. We're cooking with propane now. Nice. Finally got Go to deploy my Ludus server. Nice. So let me ask you a question, actually, Cypher. So since you did that, did you get this kind of weird Goad with a semi-random string at the end of it deployed? Oh, you're still in the process of deploying. Hydrated. Okay. Yeah, I need to actually go through that script. I want to see what they're doing with it, because that's very interesting the way they're setting it up. I like the idea of it. So but anyway, yeah, because I've got it up right now, and eventually, as I build out the when I start building out a newer lab in Ludus, eventually I do want to go back to that. I'm just kind of off in a AI hack and bot side quest right now. But as I get back over to that, I want to see kind of how they were doing that with the Go deployment, because in that case, we could probably just use pure Ansible to get this done and not be stuck necessarily in the Ludus roles land. Because I do like the Ludus roles, but they do put a little bit of handcuffs on us, and I've been looking for a good excuse to learn Ansible. All right, let's kind of bootstrap the lab real quick. But I have to log back in here. It always forgets who I am. Yep. You're a pain. There we go. Go deploy our test machine here. I think it's meant to enable multiple ranges for the same VPN, as I understand, but I've only been using Ludus for 2 weeks. I'm not sure why it was set up that way. Like I said, it's one of those things that I want to dig into. Although, it'll be a bit. So, I'm actually getting ready to start working off stream, because I talked to the creators of it, the guys over at cloudbreach.io, where I'm going to be going through a bunch of Azure and what is it? Azure and AWS pen test material. And unfortunately, they won't let me show anything about the courseware or the labware. So got really fortunate with what we were doing in the RTO lab with Rostamouse, and that he let that kind of be the situation. Yeah, cool. I think everything's running now. So that I'm going to be working on off stream, but I'm going to try to find things that we can do analogous on the stream. So I'll do like working on the AI bot, but I am keeping that in kind of my hip pocket. The original plan was that Hackbot here was supposed to be in a stable enough state where we could start transferring knowledge from different realms into customized, specialized AI agents, right? And then bring that stuff over and then provide those specialized agents as further tools that the agents could call. So basically making the agent as a tool call. So I'm trying to figure out necessarily how I might want to approach that in the future. Let's go see something. Try hack me finish boot now. It did. Let's go get the IP address. Drop that right in here. Okay, let's go boot. What did I do? Undo that. I'm probably gonna have to go log back in for all my Langsmith stuff, aren't I? Ah. See if it loads back up correctly. All right, cool. It did. Nice. All right, so let's go ahead and run this for now, and we'll let it go bootstrap. Man, I spent I don't know how long in the backyard today. Probably like 6-7 hours trying cleaning up and fixing my my smoker. So it's been out of commission for quite a bit. Like I think dang near a year. So I believe it was July last year that I had a massive fire in it, and it did a bunch of damage to it. So I was cleaning it up, fixing it, getting it squared away. Part of that was it had such a bad fire in it, and I thought I was cleaning it appropriately, but I guess I wasn't. That like the paint, which is like high temperature resistant paint on the outside, started bubbling and peeling away. I was getting rust on it. So a lot of today was spent cleaning it out and degreasing it and going through what is it? Degreasing everything. I went through an entire bottle of degreaser and sanding and repainting the rusted spots on the exterior. I've still got a little bit more to do, but I got like 90% of the way done today. I was just in the backyard all freaking day working on that thing. Let's see. All right, recon is running, enum is running. Sweet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the smoker back to operational. I need to go do like a burn-in on it now that it's kind of cleaned up, and let it go through and do its thing. There's a couple of parts on the interior also that the heat was so bad, the galvanization like coating to protect it has like just went completely obliterated. So they're rusted out too, but I think I'm going to replace those rather than try to maintenance them, for the simple fact that I don't know what I can put on there that's not going to leach toxic crap out into the environment while I'm smoking it, right? I don't want to just put that stuff into the meat. So there's a couple of like replacement parts, and thankfully they're like two small pieces of metal. I'm gonna have to just contact the manufacturer and say like, hey, can I get replacements for this? All right, let this run for just a minute. Let's go look at the trace real quick. It's easier to kind of follow what's happening in the trace. Let's see, we got our nmap run, and then we had GoBuster run. This is all the expected stuff. We did an HTTP get. What did we get? We did a get against panel. All right, cool. It even supplied a user agent string. Ooh. Nice. So what it's doing is it's running through the list of tasks that we gave it, like as a bootstrap. Let me close up some of these notes real quick. Need this one? I don't need that one. This. Oh, actually, I want to keep that one alive. All right. It looks like it may have finished. Did it get all the way to exploit? Oh no, this one is different. Where's the one we had running? This was the running one, wasn't it? Oh, we did get down to exploit. Okay, cool. Actually, easy way to check is we come down here. Yes. So we did get to exploit. We got down to the load pickle. Perfect. So now we've got an updated state table we can manipulate. We can actually get back to work on the exploitation table. Your standards are too high, not when you ingest toxins and bullshit. I don't, man. The water in Dallas is actually not that fantabulous, so I've even got like a water filter in the house. Okay, cool. So this all went off without a hitch. Let's go see here. Let's go get back over to the exploitation agent and see what we can do here. So the desired path is, from all the data that this has seen, actually, I want to go check something real quick, because we've made some changes to how we're handling and appending data, and I want to see how that actually is functioning. Let's see. So our input here should be just fine. Let's look at our tasks real quick. So task 4, there we go. That was our agent enum task. Awesome. Task 5 is our exploit task, which is get a remote code execution from a web shell. Awesome. Right now, the graph is not built out for exploit. We've got some of the nodes just kind of structured, but we haven't added them to the graph yet to take input and manipulate data. So they're just kind of hanging out, not doing anything. This is perfect. Let's take a look at the host entry here. All right, so we don't have anything for the initial access exploit. That is perfect. We've got stuff for 22. We got stuff for 80, which is like different pieces of information that we have gathered. Very nice. And okay, cool. So verdicts got associated to the host, which is what we want. We didn't want it associated to anything like particular. And these are the verdicts, like, for example, task 0 here ultimately has a verdict rendered about, hey, what was the answer, the question, the reason, and a copy of those gets put over into the host. This way, whenever we send the host object up to the language model, we say, hey, this is what you're operating on. This is your target environment. It's got enough data to handle everything just from that one piece of, that one object of information without working on anything else. All right, let's see here. Which URLs have upload panel? Nice. Okay. So I think what we need to do now is excellent. Let's go test out. Let's go test out the exploitation agent a little bit here. So what do we have written out here? So we have our initial load pickle, which is fine. What this does is, quick recap, checks for a blank state table. Like, did we run this from the main function in here? Or was it run as part of the larger graph? If it's run from main, it's going to have a blank state table, in which case it's actually going to load that pickle from memory. So we're getting our saved copy of the state table. Otherwise, it's going to make a copy of the state table and write it to disk. It's perfect. All right, let's see. So we have our exploitation agent here. What do we have set up for this prompt? Let's see. We had our exploit suggestion prompt here. Let's go look at what we had there, because we actually had not gotten to work on the exploitation agent in a minute because we had a lot of other little side tasks that came up we had to do. Okay. Exploit suggestion prompt template. So we were told that you're a cybersecurity agent specializing in finding exploits for initial access to a target. Your primary job is to analyze the task and to target data to speculate on exploits that could be viable. So additional context may be provided for previously failed exploit attempts that could be modified or avoided. Response should be in the form of exploit end reason. Nice. So actually, one thing we could do probably here is we could use load pickle here. Actually just load that and return the state, because it's kind of all set up in here. And pass that directly to the exploitation agent and just see how everything operates in here. But I think probably one of the better ideas to do is let's just go ahead and start expanding the graph a little bit. So let's come down here to our exploit workflow, and we're going to add an edge. And the edge we're going to go from is, what's this? This is going to be load pickle, which is just the name of the node here. And we're going to have this go to exploit agent, and then we're going to define that node in here. So now we're going to actually add the node in. Call this exploit agent. And then all we have to do is tell it what function that's associated to, in which case it's going to be the exploit underscore agent function. Okay. So now what's cool about this is we can come down to the main function here, and we can just invoke this sucker, just like that. So what we do is, since we have the graph already built out, I believe it's just exploit graph invoke. I believe that's all we have to do. Since we have the state management kind of set up in there, I think it's fine. Parameter input unfulfilled. Input. I'm just going to send it a blank. Let's see. So if the current state table, current task equals -1. Actually, I want to put an OR condition here. Yeah, actually, I do want to do a. I'm gonna check and see if this key exists, because I just realized something here. So what's gonna happen is when this load pickle to execute the graph happens, it's gonna look at this and realize it doesn't even exist. So we could just go add this, right? We could just kick it off by specifying that inside the initializing state table. That wouldn't be an issue. Actually, I think it'd probably be better if we just go ahead and load the pickle file here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's just, I think that will be the simpler way to do this. Except then it's going to just constantly be resaving the pickle file. I'm trying to think if there's a more elegant solution to this. Let me look at something quick. Let's see. Python check if dictionary has a key. Ah, there we go. We can actually just tell the name in the dictionary. Perfect. Let's do that. Let's rework this statement real fast here. So instead of saying if current task equals -1, we're going to say if current task. We'll take this out. Take the whole thing out. That should be right. Yeah, so if the key in the dictionary exists, let's see. Actually, you know what I want to do? I'm going to copy this. We're going to make a little overarching setup here. Because the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that that exists before we do that. So if task is in the state, and then this is actually going to get moved in a scope line now. There we go. So if we have current task, then bam. If we don't have current task, we're going to assume, let's see. Oh, actually, does that work? We need to move the whole thing in scope line right here. There we go. So if current task is in the state, and then actually we need to, forgot this, we need to do this. Actually, I want to do it that way. Let me think about this. We're going to check if current task is in the state, and then if it equals -1. Actually, yeah, I think that's probably the simpler way to do this. What if we just return back from there? That'd be no problem. So if the current task is in the state, current task equals yeah, let's do it that way. Let's do this. We'll bring this out a scope line, and what we'll do is we'll just return state. And then, so what will happen here? So let's say, for example, if we don't have current task, then it's going to load the pickle. Great. We do have current task, and the current task is equal to something other than -1. We're going to skip over this, and then it will pickle state table and save to disk. That's not what I want. All right. I was hoping to keep like the code a little bit simpler here. But that's fine. We'll just do it this way. It's a little more ugly doing it this way, but it works. So yeah, if we have a current task defined and it's equal to, then if it's equal to -1, load that. Otherwise, we save to disk. And if we don't have current task defined, then we need to load the pickle. Got this all kinds of messed up. Rather than trying to modify this, let's just clean it up real quick. Let's do this. We'll say, so if current task in state, perfect. Then what we're gonna do, so if we have the current task, it works so smoothly in my head. If you think about this, I'm still also really exhausted. Bear with me, guys. The fabulous orange Giaccos have not kicked in yet. And like I said, I was outside in the heat for like 6 hours today. I should not be struggling this hard with this very simple problem. So we have current task in the state. For all this, let's back it up. I kind of want to do this. I try to make it a little bit cleaner, a little less craptacular, but I don't see any other way around it. So we want to check for this first so we don't... Basically, the reason why I'm stressed about this is because I want to make sure that we actually don't panic the data whenever we're just trying to load it up. So if the current task is -1, then we're going to load the pickle from disk. basically saying, hey, did we initialize it with like a blank initialized one? Hey, Frozen, what's up, man? In fact, I don't even know if we really need this check in here. Basically, the whole point of this was whenever we first initialize the state table, it initializes to -1. Happy Saturday, man. Dude, I'm cooked. I'm thinking slow. I was outside for like 6 hours today in the 90-degree, 60% humidity. Well, let's see if I can get a new webcam too, because I know y'all can't really see it, but this one doesn't pick up the color super well. And another one that I've got, I want to see if I can bring it over to this computer. It makes my mustache just look like blood red. It looks really cool. Let's change this. Quick. Let's word this a little bit different here. So let's, if it, and the problem I'm running into here is I just need a little bit, I need something to store these codes in, because I don't remember this code offhand. Hang on a second. I need these little chunks right here. I need this chunk right here. Whether we're saving it or we're dumping it, this is fine. We're at 107, but it's a dry heat in Arizona. Bro, I know people tell me that, but then my constant retort is, you know, the surface of the sun is also a dry heat. I don't want to hear it. This is not JSON. Let me see if I can... There we go. That's a very dry heat, and it's not going to make it suck any less. All right, let me think about this. So if we have current task, and if it doesn't equal -1, then what I want to do here, because this is part that's kind of messing me up, because this is code I'm not committing to long-term memory right here. What we do is, there we go. So if it's not -1, pickle state table to disk. Texas isn't a dry heat. It can be, especially a little bit further north part of Texas in Dallas, where I'm at. You're down in Houston? Oh, God, no. No. Houston might as well be Louisiana, but in Texas. Yeah, it's dry heat until you melt it into the pavement. All right, so let's see. If it doesn't equal -1, that means we've been working on it. Actually, I want to change this. It's just greater than 0. There we go. We'll do it that way. So if the current task value, because this is an integer, if it's greater than 0, we're going to assume work has been done. Let's do that. Assume task work has been done. See, I can't even type properly. There we go. Stock looked at me and she's like, "Are you sure you're gonna be okay to stream?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything is fine." Let's see. Yeah, so if we have that value in the state table and it's greater than 0, we're going to assume work has been done, and we're going to pickle the state table to disk. Otherwise, we're going to assume no work has been done. Let's see. No work has been done. And in this case, then what we'll do is we're going to load pickle from disk. There we go. So what if we don't have current task? If we don't have current task, then we're going to do the same thing here, though. Because we need another else statement in here. Actually, I really don't like this. I think I do want to do this a little bit different. Let's think about this. So if we have current task and work has been done, then bam. We do want to pickle the state table to disk. And then just return the state here. Just like that. So basically, pickle doesn't actually modify the state table. It's just doing a disk-based operation. So takes in the state table, does a quick check on it. Because then what we can do now is, this is saying, hey, should we save that there? In this case, we're going to have a return statement here. Perfect. Because now what we can do is we can say, we're going to say, assume no work has been done or blank state table. There we go. Perfect. So if we don't have, so let's look at the execution flow. If we don't have the current task iteration from the state table, it's going to completely bypass this little code segment here and then jump down to here. Cool. Perfect. Just like so. That's exactly what I wanted. Great. There we go. I think that's all I really needed. All right. Made that way more complicated than it needed to be, but perfect. So now we can load our state table. We've got this all set up. What we can do then is we can now just invoke the graph with a blank what is this? We can just invoke it with a blank dictionary or blank dictionary object, and it should go through the pickling process and then load it back up. So now what I want to do is I just want to run this one file here. We're going to see what happens. All right, didn't like that. No such file or directory data.pickle. What? What?
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Hey, Oni, what's up, dude? I want you to know, Oni, that because of you, two things have occurred on stream. One, there's poop counter now. And two, I now have to explain the poop counter to people. I just want you to know that. I'm happy you're happy, man. All right, so the problem here is, let's look at this. It's running from here. Let me just do, I'm gonna do something stupid here. We have OS imported.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Frozen. I got a bug bite on my finger. You wanna see? It's right there. See it? Right there. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Right, just I thought it was get. Maybe I just need to import OS. I can't remember what the library is. I just want to get the current working directory. I just want to see where this is executing from. There it is. So it was for just from OS is what I needed. Print the current working directory. Yeah, so that's where it's trying to load it from here. Let me check something in the git ignore real fast before I start copying this data around my git. All right, so we're ignoring everything in pickles. So what I can do here is, actually, oops. Let me just do something real quick. Let me copy data pickle to agents. Quick and dirty fix. So if I look in agents here, now we see we got data pickle, but this should be ignored by git in here. See, like our env file, and that is also so. Wait there. All right. Texas is not a dry heat where I'm at. Oh no, dude, it's not. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, and I know the heat was an adjustment for you coming from over on the West Coast, owning. All right, let me try this again. All right, so nothing really comes back because we're not doing like any debugging and stuff. But hopefully what should have happened is we should see something over in... Actually, you know what? With all the changes we made here, we might just be able to see this graph. Let me check something real quick. Let me look in the LangGraph. Where's the studio config? There we go. In fact, I could even just move this out of here. But we can flood. All right, we did add the exploitation agent. That's good. We might just be able to view this over in the studio. Hey, there we go. Submit this. So it did load the state table. You can't see it because it's behind my big head, but this was the state table coming into the conversation, right? We had like nothing, but then if we look at the state table, we see like, yeah, we had stuff happening. So let's see. Oh, you know what? I just realized that it wants to do a pre-flight check, but we don't have a node for it to go through and do the pre-flight check. So, because we had a lot of the code for exploit kind of copied over, but that's fine because we need to go through and clean that up anyway. So exploit shouldn't necessarily need a pre-flight check. All we'd have to do for this is we just have to check and see, do we have an initial access payload? Is an adjustment for her. It was an adjustment for Oni, but not for his wife, because her country is humid, and it's nuts. Oh yeah, dude, I bet Thailand is massively humid. In-laws were visiting last year. They stayed in my backyard like it was nothing. Oh, I'm sure it was like a vacation for them, because when they're constantly like 95% humidity year round there. What is the average humidity in Thailand? Yeah, they average 70 to 89%. It's currently 60% here. What is the average temp in Thailand? They average in the mid 80s. So, yeah. Swamp ass city, that's where they're at right there. I lived in Guam for a while, so it was a very much Freon-based society. Dude, I think a lot of people underestimate exactly how much of an impact air conditioning had on the world. All right, let's start tracing through where we're supposed to go here. Oh, it wanted to do a pre-flight check. However, we don't have a router set up to tell it to go do a pre-flight check. So one of the things we could do now is we could go ahead and set up the message router like we did in the other agents. That would be fine. That's right. Tester was for some of the other stuff we were working on. We'll go ahead and close that out. How did I do the message router in here? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, here we go. This is our exploit router. We'll just bootstrap it with this real fast. Swamp ass is an understatement, especially when you eat street food outside that is spicy as all hell. When you eat a bowl of hot spicy soup outside during the day, that is when you say, I just give up. I could not imagine that, because I do occasionally go out and have Thai food, not very often. But yeah, you get the sweats from eating it. Combined with the heat of the food and the Scoville heat of the food. And then you want to tack on like 85 degrees and 90% humidity. Wait, was that the average? I forget what it was. Like 80%, I think it said is the average? No. Good Lord, no. And people wonder why people that study Thai boxing from Thailand, Thai fighters, why they're so freaking tough. Let's see. Let's take a look. So for our router, it says it's gonna look at the last message, current task, pre-flight check equals current task pre-flight check. So if we have a tool call, then we're gonna do something here. Fortunately, this isn't gonna work because it's gonna return back to something like we don't actually have in here. I'm trying to think about how I want to handle this. We do want it to make tool calls. Eventually, that's the whole reason why we spent last stream building the web shell tools. So it could get a web shell back and then know how to get like an interaction string for the web shell. Depending on where you are in Thailand, the humidity changes. So like, Hua Hin is crazy compared to Bangkok. I mean, actually, Chiang Mai, not. Why are you making me try to say these names, man? Oh, I'm probably saying it wrong. Chiang Mai is north, near the mountains, and it's crazy there. I wouldn't mind going to visit someday. I have no idea when that would ever happen. Let's see. Did I diagram this? Hang on one second. Let me check. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. I'm trying to remember how I did I diagram this out and how I wanted this to happen. Really, this is all really in like the agent here. So really, because I originally had thought about splitting the agent and the planner up, but the code flow makes it really easy to just have the planner basically embedded in the agent. And the planner was just going to be the call to the language model that says, hey, what am I doing, right? Family drags you all over whenever you visit. I mean, that's good though, man. I mean, if I'm going to be drug all over the place whenever I'm on vacation or whenever I'm visiting, right? I want it to be something that's going to be enjoyable. If I need to go around and like visit other places, that's totally awesome. If I need to go walk and like sweat my butt off, that's totally awesome. However, if I need to think a lot, that's when it's not awesome. Don't take me somewhere where I have to like think about the massive cultural implications of a thing. And I know that sounds kind of lazy, but I think for a living. That's what I do. I go on vacation to try and turn my brain off. I don't know how we're going to implement these nodes just yet. The tool node, I mean, is going to be simple enough. The tool node essentially is going to be the exact same thing as what we had here. Validator is going to be very similar as well. Really what I should do is take these and extract it out a little bit. Because here's the situation right now. Recon, Enum, and Exploit Agent all have very similar code. They're eventually going to change. However, there's certain tasks that I don't think are going to change, like the validator call. So I really am thinking about like extracting that out over into utils tasking and make that like a structured, just like a regular thing. I don't want to do it right this minute, but I mean, this right here, the code from Recon, Enum, and Exploit, they're pretty much one-for-one copies. I don't think there's anything really that changes to it. It takes in the state table, it does stuff, and then it returns stuff. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Don't get me wrong, I get to see stuff that most foreigners don't usually see, but I'm lazy and want to lay around in one spot and drink. I'm the same way, minus the drinking. I usually go out drinking maybe once every 6 months, really. I just want to go chill. Like, either like look at something pretty, like when I go to the beach, and just listen to music, or maybe go read a book. That's about it. Let's see. I've been trying to read more books right now, but I'm currently like absorbed in Warhammer 40k Darktide, that game, and I'm on the what's called the penance grind. So the achievements in the game are called doing penance, right? And I'm trying to work on all those. So my veteran, my zealot, my psyker, they're all in good spots, but I haven't done anything with my Ogren, and so I'm trying to learn how to play Ogren from scratch, essentially. The fan is on. It feels really hot in the office right now. Let's see. All right, I think that'll be okay. I'm trying to remember how I defined the tool node, though. Honestly. Oh, I defined it up here at the top. That's fine. We are gonna use this. I could actually cut this down a bit. However, let's call this our exploit tool node. Ah, stop. Let's see. Yeah, so we'll add that in as a conditional route in here. I gotta remember how to do that, though. I didn't think these agents were going to look so similar at the outset. So like I said, eventually what we're probably going to do is refactor a lot of this stuff. I'm going to break this up a little bit. So we have our starting edge and node, starting edge and node. And then we're going to have our conditional jumps here. I don't even think we actually need the handoff node. But that's fine. So let's go ahead and rename these. This will be exploits. This will be exploit. Try to stick to a kind of standard naming convention on these, so it makes it, when we're debugging, easy to follow. Let's Go ahead and get the handoff node here. Get you for down here at the very end. Oh yeah, we gotta import. That is not what we want to. I think it's a LangGraph type command. I think that's the one. When we visit this person or this aunt or that cousin or whoever, yeah, I understand, man. Does your wife have a big family? Let's see here. This would be our exploit agent. She does? Okay. Yeah, you're beat, dude. You are beat. B-E-E-T, beat. There's no misspelling in pre-flight check. Stop asking. There we go. Let's rename some of these things here. Just do a little bit of copy pasta. I honestly expected these agents to look slightly different. Now, in my wild fever dreams, as I've thought about this, one of the other things I have considered is that as I'm coming through this, eventually the entire structure of these agents might change as my understanding of how to interact and let the language models do stuff has changed. Oh, by the way, actually, I saw something really cool. And I posted it up in Discord in the AI and machine learning channel that I might want to dig through. I don't know if I feel like digging through it tonight, but this is pretty cool. This is a game called Diplomacy, and these guys wrote a version of it where you can have different AI models play against each other. So they had Claude, they had like O3, they had Gemini playing against each other, and they came across like different outcomes for them when they did this. And I'm just curious to see, like, I wanted to look and see how they went through and handled bootstrapping it and interacting with it, and then also what prompting they did. Because you got to remember, as cool as all this stuff is, ultimately, what happens is these language models take in one thing, a block of text. They take in a prompt, they return stuff back. Sometimes they return a block of text, sometimes they return a JSON, or something else to facilitate tool calling. Not a big deal. So I'm just curious to see how they structured some of the prompts, because they had observations like O3, I think, did the best overall, like especially like organizing with other people, if I remember correctly. They said Claude was the most honest, Gemini was the most deceptive. And so I'm curious, I wanted to go dig through this a little bit. If anybody wants to check it out, here, I'll drop the link over in the chat for everybody. It looked really cool. I thought about taking it apart and taking a look at it, because like I said, I thought it looked really neat. I'm always curious to see how they're doing these different systems, whenever they try to like automate something with these language models, how they're actually handling the inputs and outputs. Because one, maybe give me ideas on working on Hackbot, but also a lot of the observations I feel are biased in some way by how they're structuring the inputs and outputs. So if they're using the exact same input and output, that might be something different. But so far, like I'm talking to Claude here about straight up hacking stuff, and I'm telling it this is your role and what you're doing, and it's returning stuff no problem. I have not tried like from the Claude UI, because that has its own system prompt at the beginning of it, right? If we look at how the prompts are structured, right? We have something called a system prompt. Scrolling, there we go. System prompt and then a user prompt down here. The system prompt is not controlled by us whenever we're talking through like the web UI. It's controlled by the provider. We're only responsible for whatever happens in the user prompt. So there's half the prompt that's missing. So I'm just curious what they're doing for like the system prompt, the user prompt. I want to go dig into it eventually. All right, so we got our exploit agent, our task handler. Now this is going to be a bit weird too, because we're going to need something a little bit different. Let me save this. Let's go check the render. Yes. Let's go see if it rendered over in Langsmith. Okay. It looks like it didn't like something. I bet. Let's see here. Studio's throwing an error. Branch around to unknown target, exploit validator. Oh, okay, that's why it didn't render. Yeah, we need to get the validator node in here as well. So, I highly suspect this is going to have to change also because we're adding a secondary type of tasking to the exploitation task where we're going to call it like speculative tasking, where it's going to return back ideas and then we're going to let it iterate on how to understand and do this. That's actually why I had this idea up, something called the Reflexion. And this was based on a research paper from some very smart guys that are way smarter than me. But the idea here is you've got like this kind of execution loop where actually this is the execution loop right here. Execute tools, revise, da-da-da-da-da-da. So this right here, this kind of Reflexion agent is something we're going to have to implement in this to handle iterating over those subtasks. So the master task is like, hey, go get a shell using a web shell. We're fairly confident this will work. It's going to come through, and then it's going to try it on those subtasks with the kind of speculative tasking. I think a poop counter for ads might be good too. Dude, the ads don't even run that frequently. I was thinking about this the other day because, you know, I try to keep them to the, I do keep them to the bare minimum, right? I keep them just enough to keep the pre-rolls off. That's it. Alucin, what's up? Thanks for coming online. Welcome in and happy Saturday. Yeah, I keep the ads like as bare minimum as I can. If you do a minute and a half every 30 minutes, you don't get pre-rolls. That way people can come in and actually enjoy the stream and check it out before just getting bombarded with 16 ads, right? From Chile. Nice. Dude, I get so many international folks on the stream and I freaking love it. Welcome in. But I was thinking about this. Is like, do you remember like how much it was a constant joke that when I was a kid, and I know this is a back in my day type story, but this is how it is. You probably watch 10 minutes of commercials for every 30 minutes of a TV show that you watched. Right? I was like, I keep telling my kids, like, you have no idea how spoiled you are. You don't have to run to the bathroom during the commercial break and hope you don't miss, you know, the return from the cliffhanger before the commercial. And Woosah's in France. Dang. You got folks from all over. I know a couple of folks from the Netherlands because I gave a talk for their Discord cybersecurity group, and they were all really cool. And I know some of them pop into the stream, so I know that's one of the benefits to streaming late at night. This is very late for me. I'm in Texas. It is currently 9 p.m. So, but it's the only time I can stream because it's after the kids go to bed. So I keep telling my kids, like, they complain about commercials in like YouTube videos. I'm like, don't even get me started. First off, yeah, they are annoying. Second off, I was like, let me tell you about what I used to put up with. Close to the Netherlands, you have CCC from Germany. Oh, I know. I hope to go visit those guys someday. Occasionally, my company will send folks over to Europe for various events. And I'm hoping I get to go one day. I just don't know if or when that's ever going to be. I need to come up with something cool to like present. I'm hoping eventually maybe I could do, if Hackbot becomes like becomes very good at playing these CTF games, this could be something I talk about, and just helping people understand the pen test execution flow by teaching it to an AI agent, right? Yeah, CCC is very old. When did that start? Hold on. Let's see. Look at Chaos, Computer, Club. First date. First meeting. Let me see. When was that? Yeah. They've been meeting literally as long as I've been alive, because I was born in 1984. So yeah. You were really close, yes. You were the closest without going over. Actually, hold on. According to this, let me go see where was this cited from. This says they actually started in 81. Oh, there we go. This says September of 81. So actually, it's older than me. Dang. Handful of computer hackers meet in West Berlin offices of the alternative newspaper Die German. That is the most German word I've seen today. This is the first meeting of the Chaos Computer Club, one of the first groups to imagine computers as a properly political tool, birthed mere miles away from the headquarters of the notorious Stasi secret police across the border in East Berlin. These hackers were keenly aware of the power of information and its potential abuse by authorities. The CCC quickly became the beating heart of the European hacker community. Dang, they're actually older than me. Wow. 81. Dude, computers were so different back then. I was also born in 84. Question is, though, what month and day? And what's your social security number? Get out of here. Troll. Oh, man. Dude, I can't believe this Chaos Computer Club has been around since 81. That is nuts. Oh, so fun fact about that, Oni. There's some group that has made a YouTube comment scraper, and it goes through and it tries to make judgments based on your comments and surmise things like your age, your religion, your political affiliation, all these other like attributes about you based on your comments. So now I have started going onto YouTube videos and saying stuff like, you know, back when I was a young child of 15 children, I was born in 1980, or no, what did I say? I said like 1911. My oldest brother went off to World War I, and I had to take care of the farm. I just will start spouting random stuff into into videos like have nothing to do with it. Could be a random short video on YouTube, and I'll just start putting in craziness to just pollute their language model for fun. Hey, what's up, man? Here was thinking I know at least one person on Twitch older than me. Sorry, bro. Usually I am one of the oldest ones in the room, though. Especially like, some of the guys I work with, they're in their late 20s, and they're still so like young and bright-eyed. I'm like, y'all are adorable. I just want to adopt all of you. I was wondering about comments on YouTube because I think they can be damning. Oh, they probably can, because a lot of people are used to not finding information in comments on YouTube videos. So they were young and bright-eyed. They are sweet summer children. All right, hold on. What was the node I was missing here? I think it was the validator node. Oh, yes, we added the edge here. Except a lot of this still has, like, recon in it. Oh, wait, because I'm in the recon agent. I'm an idiot. Let me see. Did I add the validator node? I did not. So currently, the reason why the graph isn't rendering is because we haven't added the validator node. So we need to add that. I prefer bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They are, man. They totally are. Although, honestly, I was just getting out of what I call my gaming funk. So, occasionally, just like anybody else, I get burned out, and I stop working on doing various hacking stuff in the evenings. It happens. It doesn't happen super frequently, but I do know it happens to me. Sometimes it's just something I've got to burn through and get through so I can get back into it. I had just gotten over that, and I was excited to like start working on stuff in the evenings again. I was tired of video games, and that's right when my dad died. Which was exactly 1 month ago. So I've been trying to be a little extra lenient on myself. I foresee this kind of going on for probably another 4 weeks or so, but I'm trying to bust out of it a little early if I can and work on some Azure exploitation stuff. And And actually, on Hackbot, what we do is start building out some the first specialty agent, which would be around Azure tooling. And that'll be interesting because either we're going to need a Windows machine to run some of this tooling because it's all written in like C# and .NET. It's meant to use like the Windows APIs or like the Azure CLI, things like that. So we'll either have to find a specialty way to run that tooling, or we're gonna have to find like the Python or open source equivalents. Woosa, thanks for coming online. I appreciate you. I was gonna say happy Saturday, but knowing where you're at, yeah, I think it's actually already Sunday there. So happy Sunday. Your beard greater than my beard. Let's see. What did I go here? Hold on. Well, I have actually lost like where I was looking at. Oh, that's right. So exploit validator is what's missing. So I need the recon validator node. There it is. Let me go copy this and really, actually, I don't think we need the validator here. The validator is going to be different. I'm going to copy this over to the exploit agent, but then we're going to do some very heavy modification to it. Because the validator here, let's go ahead and import that. We will need to import that. So just, all I'm doing is importing dependencies right now. I think that's from output formatters. I think that's where I want that one. Actually, I don't remember which one we did. Where did we import task answer from? Let's see. I didn't import that from prompts. No, where's task answer? Yeah, it was from output formatters. Okay, we're good there. Yeah, it's about 4 a.m. where you are. Gotcha. I was close on the time. I thought I knew roughly what time it was in Chile. All right, let's see here. Wait, hold on. No, you're in France. That's right. So I was way off because I was getting you and Alusin backwards. 4 a.m. in Sweden. Damn. Y'all are either up very late or very early. Let's see. I used to get up at that time back in the day. However, I can't because I don't finish the stream up until 11 p.m. and then it takes a while for me to wind down. I'm getting in bed at earliest at like midnight, so I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. Does 2 hours sleep count as late or early? Yes. I have heard of Pwn Labs and I know something about it, Clayhacks. I just have not dug into it and hopped on there. I think Hacksmarter, Tyler Ramsby, I think he's been having a field day with them though, if I remember correctly. Speaking of time, do you happen to stream earlier? I wish, Wusa, I wish I could. Unfortunately, I usually start, the stream's been on for like an hour and 15 minutes right now. I usually would start at an earlier I wish I could start at an earlier time, but I actually can't start until after the kids are in bed. Otherwise, they'll just be going nuts. So I wish I could. If you want to catch the replays though, the streams are all archived over on YouTube. So you can always check the, like you can go watch it. I stream on Tuesdays and Saturday and Sunday. Tuesday is the new stream though, and it's marked very clearly. You can see it in the thumbnail on YouTube, and it says, "Hey, this is the new stream. We're just going over hacker news for the week." They released Pwn Cloud OS. What? What is this? Multi-cloud security platform for hackers and defenders. Say what? Let's look at this. HomeCloud OS is a multi-cloud security platform for red and blue teamers with the goal of creating the ultimate purple team cloud-focused OS. Is it free? It's free to use. Please do provide feedback. Can I add new tools? Okay. That actually might work then, Clay, because what we could potentially do is essentially bootstrap a whole bunch of tool calls over to this kind of virtual machine. Unfortunately, I see they've got it in AMD 64. However, is it in VMware? It's an OVA file. Okay. I wonder if they have the provisioning script set up. Like, hey, this is how we build it. Let me see. Ooh. Excuse me one sec. I got something in my eye. Actually, so when I came in after, I was working outside all day, Stock had made lunch. I came in to eat, and she's looking at me, and she's looking at me very intently. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, stay still. I'm like, what did I do? Is she mad at me? Am I about to just get the, like, ultimate, like, pimp slap from her for something I did or some perceived slight? Which I should know better. She's very mellow. She's not that kind of person. No, apparently there was a freaking spider crawling in my beard that had crawled on me from outside. And she just freaking Mr. Miyagi's this thing and just, whoop-cha! And got it out of my beard. Hackers and defenders implies hackers only attackers? Yeah, pretty much. That's the usual synonymous meaning of it. Is like, oh, the hackers always wrecking our fun, right? I was wondering if they had information on the build layout here. I don't guess so, on how they actually build the virtual machine. I mean, one thing we could always do is figure out like what tools they've got and go build a role for something like this over in Ludus. That would be kind of handy, actually. And I've been wanting to try my hand at doing a little bit more with Ansible. But I do like this, Clay. Thanks for showing this to me, because I want to go bust it out and see like what tools are available in there. Mr. Yaki would have used chopsticks. I don't keep chopsticks in the house, though. Actually, I take that back. I think I do somewhere. Just don't know where. All right, let me see. Validator is here. Oh, I haven't added the validator node, though. That's what we haven't done yet. So we need to add the exploit tool node, I believe, has already been added. Yep, we added that one. Exploit handoff has been added, but we have not added exploit validator. So let's go add that here. So what we do is we'll do exploit workflow. Let's add the validator node. And that's just going to go to validator. There we go. All right, so I think that minor change might have allowed the graph to actually finish building. Okay, cool. Let's go take a look at it over at LangSmith real fast. So, very simple flow right now. They all basically just flow back to end, which is just fine. That's totally okay. Yeah, Cypher, I thought it was pretty slick. She just like, and it wasn't even a big spider. I mean, it was like a little itty bitty one. I don't know how she even saw it. She's got eyes like a freaking eagle. I do love how it like just dynamically redraws the lines. I didn't figure out what library they're using for this. I haven't dug into it, just because I wanted to build out some of the visualizations when I eventually get to writing the UI for Hackbot, and something like this would be like really handy. Have it generate like a graph of, hey, here's how we attacked it, because eventually I do want it to have a kind of like an attack path built out where it says, no, this is where we started, and then this host was observed, and then we noticed that this host had 480 listening, dropped a web shell, and basically build out like a series of nodes for an attack graph. That's going to be like quite a ways off though. Okay. Let me go ahead and just... Actually, hold on. Let me come over to TryHackMe. Let me add another hour onto this. There we go. So that way... So this has an hour and 48 minutes left. Yeah, that should get us through the end of the stream. Perfect. Actually, let me come back over here. Let's go ahead and run the exploit graph here. So we're going to send a call to exploit validator. And actually, the validator here, I forgot, we need to rewrite that because the validator does not even need to make... Let's go look at the trace of it real quick. The validator doesn't even need to make a language model call, really. Because we have a spot specifically in there that says this is the initial access payload, and that value should not be touched until we have other nodes validate that piece of information in here. But what was the call that we made here? Let's see. What was our output? Let's see. Task answer. Based on the provided host data, I can identify that there is file upload functionality on the panel directory of the web server. While this could potentially be used to upload a web shell for remote code execution, the host data does not contain information about, 1, whether the upload was successful, 2, what type of files are allowed or filtered, if any web shell was actively uploaded. Okay, cool. So yes, actually, let's go rewrite that because that validator node is way overcomplicated for this particular situation, right? So validator, you need to get chopped down quite a bit. Yep. Boop. We're just going to nuke it. We're just going to nuke this. What we're going to do is we're going to check the state table. And what we're going to say is... Let's look at this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say target host. That's going to be from our state table. We're going to get... Let's see. This should be our task. And the index of this is going to be state current task. There we go. That's our index to the array. And then from there, what we want to get out of that task is we want to get... What is it? Target IP. That's what we want. So I am going to go ahead and extract this out. We'll go ahead and extract out the target IP just for simplicity. There we go. In fact, I'm going to even make this like stupidly explicit. Current task target IP. I've been working on setting XML to Python to C data, Python to Godot for countless hours now. One thing I can tell you is Copilot has gotten really good for generating huge structs from XML and converting C structs to Python C structs. Oh, nice. I think for using it for small bits, hats is going to be super helpful. I look at it kind of like what teachers used to tell us, like math teachers used to tell us back in the day, like you're not always going to have a calculator on you. They couldn't imagine, you know, smartphones becoming a thing. So I literally do always have a calculator in my pocket. You were wrong. Every teacher I had in primary school. However, learning how to do things without the calculator is very important. And I'm still a very big proponent when learning mathematics of doing things the hard way and then doing them the shortcut, proving something before you use it. Same thing with programming. Develop yourself and learn how it works before you start taking the shortcut of maybe using a precompiled library or using something like an AI agent to help you write some of the code. So for example, when my dear wife, who was my fiance at the time, was taking calculus, it was an online course and the calculus professor was halfway to useless. He just was not helpful. And she's doing a little bit of differentiation, right? And she's doing it in the limit form, which is a very long way of taking the limit of two functions as they approach a value and like looking at it and then figuring it out. And so she goes through and takes her 15 minutes to go through this one problem, right? And she's like, hey, would you check my work? I've been way past calculus by this point. I look at it. I'm like, no, the answer is whatever it is. And she's like, I took 15 minutes to do this and you just did it like that. I was like, yes, but I'm using the shortcut because I've already been through this. So we know the answer is wrong. Let's work backwards and figure out where things went differently and looking at it. Same thing, like I said, with using a lot of the AI augmentations when it comes to programming is if you're using it, I think kind of like the way Primogen was using it to build that card game he was building on stream. He is a master programmer and has a ton of experience with it and can use that to help speed himself up. That's great. I think the problem is they're hoping that they can get rid of a lot of junior developers and use AI to replace them. That's not how this is going to work. This is going to be more like a force multiplier. It's going to take somebody who understands what's happening and make them better. It's not going to be necessarily replacing people. Let's see. I need to revisit the Pwn Labs courses and sit for the MCRTP exam. I did it back in November. Same time I was starting an internal pen test. Super glad I did it because so many environments are hybrid or straight up Azure AD. You know what's crazy, Clayhacks? I'm only seeing. I thought actually it turned out it was different. It was my current client has like multiple environments. I thought that they were purely Azure AD. Turns out that was just where they seeded our C2 payload. Was into a pure Azure AD environment. So it threw me for a big loop because the way they were talking, it didn't sound like that. So yeah, they've got like 7 different environments, and apparently the one they seeded us into was like the pristine environment. I was like, you're killing me, man. For graphs, I'm only aware of Mermaid.js. Mermaid actually is pretty cool, Wusa. And you can actually use it to build like this picture of your graph right here. You can use it to, you can actually pass it the graphing data from LangGraph and use it to kind of build something up like this. In fact, I think I may even have that over in, do I have that in here? Yeah, I've got the mermaid diagram for it here of like what this should look like in the Hackbot code. I agree, but this particular case is for a product to be shipped in 36 hours. Ugh. Ouch, dude. That was the most annoying part of calculus was that it was a shortcut for everything I learned in pre-calc. Right. I've seen so many memes about the limit form versus the short form in my Facebook feed. That's funny because I don't get any of those. I don't get the math memes. I usually tend to get like veteran memes, ironically, which is funny because I'm not a veteran. I just really like military veterans, and I'm friends with a ton of them. Just have the juniors make structs from XML tables. That sounds painful. I didn't allow the language model to make the algorithmic part for sure. Then again, I would not delegate that to a junior either. Word. I think that's a good way to look at it. It's like I wouldn't have the language model do anything that you wouldn't delegate out to a junior. Maybe that's the way. I've never worked as a professional developer, so take all I'm saying about that with a giant grain of salt. These are just my thoughts as I am going through the journey of learning how to write large programs from scratch. Writing tiny little like one-off Python scripts or anything else, no problem. I actually wanted to work on my first kind of large project here. I had like 4 pen tests in a row where I was seated on-prem, non-domain joined, so always pivot to cloud. That's exactly what I was just working on, man. But unfortunately, their cloud environment was very sparse. There was no way to pivot around the cloud environment. It was kind of a beatdown. So then the client though is very cool, and they realized this. I'm like, hey, and then they seated us to another environment, but then that laptop shut down. I was like, no. a lot of technical issues on this assessment, unfortunately. But you know, it goes with the territory. That's the kind of stuff that they don't talk about when you're like, yeah, when you work in offensive security is all the non-offensive IT work you have to do. Sometimes it's just part of the pen test, so you can get your access to do the pen test or the red team assessment, whatever. I can really actually only think that I've had 2 clients that were purely on like Entra, previously Azure AD, right? That they were 100% cloud AD. I've only had 2, and I've done hundreds of pen tests. I guess the Facebook algo feeds them to me because I interact with math posts a lot. Yeah, I do like a good math, good math meme. I am a giant nerd, especially when it comes to math. All right, what we're doing? Oh, that's right. We were rewriting the validator. So we're gonna copy out the current task, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna say if let's check. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the state table. So we're gonna say if the state host by current task IP. Boop. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna break out the initial access exploit. Let's see. We'll say if it equals blank. So if it equals blank, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the current task. We're gonna state current task. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the pre-flight check out of this. And we're going to set that to true. So that we'll say, hey, by the way, we checked for this. And we're going to say capital T, true. There we go. And then so after we set the pre-flight check to true, we'll have a logging message in here. We'll have an AI message that says, hey, the initial access payload is missing. So we're going to start working on this task as if it was a normal task. If you'd only delegate juniors to work on language models, they might actually replace the juniors then. So it's definitely happening in non-technical roles too. For example, I just read that McKinsey is using them to make slide decks they use to farm out to newbies. Yep. I was actually listening to what's his name? Pirate Software talk about this, and he was mentioning that essentially what's happening is a lot of junior developers are being replaced by like some kind of language model automation. Even though the language models are not any better, in fact, are worse than the junior developers. But what they're doing is they're banking on the constant improvement for that. And I don't know how that's going to play out. It's going to be very interesting to see. Because there could be what they're gambling on is they're gambling that the language models eventually will become better than junior developers. If that is true, then what's going to happen to junior developers? You're eventually going to enter like a wasteland period where you don't have new people coming in because you have cut off all the new people for language models. And eventually those language models are not going to understand software architecture and be able to... I do not ever foresee a point where you can tell the AI, build an application with these parameters to it. Where like you can go to the website and you can do this, or you can do that, and basically vibe code out your entire enterprise application. You're going to need somebody who is senior to at very least guide them. Well, what happens? Eventually, senior gets old and retires. Who's the new senior that's going to be able to explain this to somebody? There won't be anyone, because why would you hire a junior developer when you got a language model to do this, and you've completely cut off an experiential pipeline of growing the next generation? It's sadly, as most things are in America, short-sighted. I hate that we look at things like by the quarter instead of trying to look at how are things going to be in like 25 years. Yeah, the talent pipeline problem is an issue for sure. Yeah, exactly, Heel. Also, happy Saturday, Heel. Good to see you, man. All right. Did I finish my Jocko? Yeah. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. Working on it. Working on it. All right, let's see here. So real quick, if the validator hits and if we have an initial access payload, awesome, we're going to set the pre-flight check to true. How did I do this though? Hold on. I actually nixed something out of here that I wanted to keep, which was just a logging message. Yeah, this part right here. This is the way. So what we're going to do is return a message. This would be from exploit validator. Let's see. What we'll say is no initial access payload available. Passing to exploit agent. Actually, do I want to pass this back to the agent? Yeah, I do. We do have to pass it back to the agent. Passing to exploit agent. There we go. So all we're doing is we're just returning a logging message that says, hey, by the way, there was no exploit. Because over here in the state table, you see. So if we look at our host entries, like we have a list of hosts that we've discovered in the environment. They have an initial access exploit right here. That initial access exploit tells it, hey, this is what we use. In fact, hold on, it shows it right there. This is the payload for SQL command execution on the target. So if this is missing, then we have not successfully exploited the target in some way. Eventually, when we get to like multi-node and what is it? Let me think about this. Eventually, when we get to like multi-node networks, like actual like multiple node CTFs, and let's say we exploit the domain, and we have domain controller, like domain admin access. I think what we'll do is probably that host table will get expanded, and then one of the host entries might actually be something like a domain entry, and says, oh, by the way, for this domain we have domain admin credentials and we can use those. Dagny, what's up, man? I have the same idea with you, but my coworkers never agree with that. I mean, you're never going to completely see eye to eye. Even like some of my best friends, I don't completely see eye to eye with them on everything. And you don't have to. It's okay. I kind of hate the fact that civil discourse has largely died in recent years, where you don't necessarily have to agree with somebody, but if you have an idea, you should be able to articulate it, have someone else articulate their idea, and either come to a consensus or realize whenever, hey, we have fundamental, like axiomatic differences in our arguments, and that's not going to be resolved. Okay, maybe later you even revisit it. You say, hey, I've got a new idea, a new twist on this. Maybe this will change your mind, and you go back and forth again with it. I miss civil discourse. It was so fun. Let's see. So if we don't have one, then we just return back to true. That is totally fine. We don't actually need to check to see if we have answers for that. Actually, I do want to do something a little bit different here. Let's see, because this validator node actually has to handle two things that happen. Oops, the word. I gotta remember something real quick. Let me look at the validator. So first thing we always did was set the pre-flight check to true. Actually, yeah. So let's get this real quick. So actually, I do want this also, because this actually shouldn't happen outside of this. And you might be wondering, why am I doing it? Why am I using this variable here? Like, why am I extracting this out of the state table? And here I'm actually modifying the state table. Because eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make modifications, and I'm either going to emit the changes from this function from the state table here, or I'm going to just return the state table if I don't have any like additional messages to return. It makes it very simple to kind of track the input and output. Think of this as like a read-only variable, and this is where data actually gets modified. This is the kind of convention that I'm using in this code. I have a new theory about brontosauruses. Oh dear, Ken. All right, lay it on me. Let's see. All right, so we take this out because we already want to make sure that this is set. That's fine. We'll say if it is let's see about this. So nothing, if when it comes in, there's only two options. We can have the pre-flight check. Well, it doesn't matter because the pre-flight check is always going to be set to true. We're going to say if the initial access exploit value is null, essentially, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, there's nothing here that's happening. We're going to send it back to the exploit agent. Let's just do an else in here. So if it's not null, then what we're going to do is we're going to set this task to validated. So do is I believe it is our, what was that field? Status? Where's task? That was task answer. Task. Yeah, status. So what we'll do is we're going to set the status. It's going to be equal to validated. We'll set that there. It was a Monty Python meme, and I was just thinking you pick one. Dude, I can't believe I missed that. Actually, I need to go back and rewatch Monty Python stuff because I got to figure out what might be kid friendly so I can watch it with my older son. My younger son totally won't get it. Is the bunny? Well, let's see. We put a note in. No exploit for the host. Let's put a little note in here. This is exploit for host. So if the exploit's present, we want to validate it. Actually, that's really it. Was I overcomplicating this? So the task comes, so the state table comes in. We're going to look at the current target IP. We're going to check and see if the initial access exploit is null. If it is, then what we're going to do is we're just going to emit that change to the task. And then what we'll do is we'll just return that. So any changes we make to the local state table, right, we have to kind of emit those or return them back out of the function to get it to come back. So I do want to return a messages key. And then also what we'll do is, let me go double check how I did this over here. So I just try to keep it a little bit sane here. Yeah, so we just return back state task. Awesome. Actually, let me just copy this because this will kind of work. The inputs and outputs were all good. We just had to change the overarching logic of the validator. This was a little bit different though, because this was working on what we had from this. Because this was assuming that basically this response was from our language model. So let me think about this. So we'll say the task is validated. And we'll say question was, actually we could just get the question from this. Oh, except there's something a little bit different in here. Because the validator was also appending verdicts. So we will need to get a verdict out of this. Like we see our task answer here. This was our response that we had. All right, so we will have to do this. I just want to do this without having to make a language model call, if possible. I don't think we're going to need that. That's what, guys. I got to run to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. Bunch of degenerates. First thing I come back and see is the poop counter increment. Let's see. I think eventually one thing I'll add over to the validator here is this will come back, and actually what we'll do is if we say it's present from the host, what we'll do is we'll actually do a test. We'll just do a quick test of like run this command, like a who am I. If it returns back data, then we'll say good. And we'll say successfully answered like who am I test or whatever. Oh, you pooping? I'm not a degenerate. I'm a custodian of our enterprise data, a steward of our most cherished data. Yeah, our most cherished data is the poop counter. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Let's see. Let's see. What is our question? So one thing we'll have to just bootstrap this real quick in here, because in the recon answer, what we're doing is our response actually comes back as a task answer. So what we'll do is we'll just initiate. To keep the code kind of similar, what we'll do is we'll just formulate a response here. So we'll do response is going to be a new task answer, and our task, unfortunately. Actually, hold on. That still works okay. I'm trying to think about this, because this task answer is actually referencing the output formatter task answer. And see, if you notice how, so usually when we're accessing various keys in the dictionaries, we're using the bracket notation. And you notice how this one is the dot notation in here? And what we're doing is we're directly appending that over to the verdict here. So actually, this is the stuff. I need this entire thing here. But let's just drop this in and we will modify as necessary. Okay. So we want to set the task status to validated. The verdict is going to be our response. So what we need to do is just go structure our response real quick. So response is going to be its own task answer from output formatters. And I'm not sure how we even instantiate this. Need a Mr. Hanky sound? I already added new sounds for you guys. You just want more. You just want more. I'm trying to think how to... Because this task answer is a pedantic base model. I'm not sure how to actually instantiate this. Let me go look at the init class real quick. Let's see, so for init, what do we do? I think I might just be able to instantiate this. So actually, what I think I'm going to have to do is go dig out some of this information here from the task real quick. Like, what was the task that we need? So there's going to be some information we're going to need out of here. So let's just do that real quick. So what we'll do is from the current task, we want to get the... I think it's just the task. There we go. Yeah, the question was actually the task in here. So the question will be our task. And then our... answer, we're just going to have a string in here that's going to say successfully tested payload. Post. There we go. That's what we'll do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a comment in here real quick, because this is going to be put in a to-do. Need to fix to actually run a test of the IAP to get output. And then what we would do here is we would say what the reason is for this. Chat's always right, though. No, chat is not always right. In fact, quite frequently, chat is wrong. Whoever said the customer is always right has never worked in customer service, ever. I remember one time, my first job in high school, I worked at Home Depot, and some guy, I remember one time asking me, like, why we didn't have something. It was like a particular brand of a tool. He's like, Lowe's has it. I was like, yeah, but you're at Home Depot. This isn't Lowe's. Chat would never abuse it. Yeah, y'all would. Make it free on Christmas? No. Let's see. Reason right now is I'm gonna just say the IAP for the host is present. And then what do I want to do with this? Eventually, this is going to get modified too. This is going to be modified as well too. Update to capture output from the IAP test. And like I said, so what we'll probably do later on here is we'll go through and we'll say, okay, cool, we have an initial access payload. Let's run it. Do we get command output? Yes. And then for the question, it'll be, hey, this is the task. The answer would be, hey, we successfully copied it. And the reason would be our interactions with that initial access exploit and what output it returned. That's how we would actually handle this. I don't know how to instantiate this, actually. I gotta figure out how to do that. Let's see. Instantiate. See. Base model. See. So here's our base model. Okay, so here's our user model, right? Now, how do we initialize this? Okay, we just have to initialize it like so. So it should be good there. So let's do... The question was, do we need that? Question equals question. I know that's kind of weird, but that's how we do it. And then, what do we need?
Shut up, baby. I know what.
I am a nerd. Giant nerd. What do we need? We need question, answer, and reason. So our answer is just going to answer. And then same thing here. Reason is going to be. I just do reason? Nah, it doesn't like that. Okay. Easy enough. So real simple. So all we did is this part will stay the same. These two will need to change. I'm gonna put a do in here. Update the logic for these methods. Where's my to-do list actually? I don't know if I remember I did that. Upon validation, append the verdicts to the corresponding entry in the host dictionary. We did this, so this is done. For exploit, we're gonna need to let's see, exploit, and I'm gonna say here for validator. What we're gonna need to do for that is update logic to test. Let's see, initial access payload to generate the answer and reason. Fields. There we go. Okay, I can't spell either. Initial. There we go. So, because what we'll do is, if we want to validate that, yeah, the agent did complete what it was supposed to, we'll just run the initial access exploit. We'll have it do something very simple, like who am I? I think that will... shadow name response from outer scope. I don't care. I don't think we have a response anywhere else, do we?
Caution. A virus has been detected.
Hey!
Authy Rails tech virus detected in the network.
The Rails tech virus. Gotta send cookies. Tech cookie! And we have Hacking Bot coming in on YouTube. What's up, man? Hey, welcome in, Raiders. Rails Tech, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it. What were you working on? See what you're up to. Just do some game stream development. Cool, man. Well, welcome in, Raiders. By the way, for everybody who just popped in the chat, what's up? Happy Saturday. It may be Sunday, depending on your time zone. My name's Blaise. I'm a professional penetration tester, red team, all things hacker guy. Not really all things, but a lot of things. And we're in here coding a little hacking bot, having fun. I'm writing an IRC client in Go. Oh, I love it. Dude, I miss IRC. That was my jam back in the day. With the TUI, not a GUI? Okay. I mean, that makes sense. That's awesome, though, man. That's what I've been starting to tell folks is like, hey, if you're not quite sure what to do, just take something that you know and you like and go implement it. Have fun with it. And then you can learn so much from that. So, let's see. All right, I think the validator logic is good now. I don't know why it's complaining about this. Expected a literal. You got a literal. Quit whining. I told the woman in a bar that I was a professional penetration tester and I got her drink thrown in my face. Jeez. Dude, that's why I don't tell people that, like, when I first meet them. I need to know them fairly well before I tell them what I actually do. Because I hate the jokes like, penetration, It's like, yeah, I know. Get it out of your system. I've heard it a billion times. I tell people I'm an IT consultant. And the usual follow-on question to that is, oh, what do you do? I was like, I go look at my customers' environments. They hire me, and I just see what's wrong and tell them how to fix it. I am not lying. I am just being incredibly vague. All right, let's see. I think this will work. Passing to exploit agent. Got it. Cool. So now what we would need is so I think where did we have validator go to? I believe we had validator linked back always to exploit agent, if I remember correctly. Let's go look at the agent workflow again. Look at recon. So validator, yeah, we had a conditional jump to validator, and then we had a hard return from validator up to the agent. Yep. So let's go add that into here real quick. So what we'll do is we'll come over here, we'll say exploit workflow, add an edge. No, add an edge. And see, that's why I tell them I don't tell them I work in IT. I tell them I'm an IT consultant, Wusa, because I never want them to ask me to help them fix their own printer. I don't even like fixing my own printer. I hate printers with a passion. My computer's slow, could you fix it? It's like, yeah, reformat. Reformat. Tom Osek, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. All right, I need to make an edge from the validator back over to the agent here. So, exploit agent. Boy picked. Let me save this and see how we're rendering. It did not like that, so there's probably an error somewhere. No? No error? Or maybe I just did it to 2? We should see an edge hit now. And so right now, validators, it's not returning to a particular node in the graph. It should loop back around over to exploit agent here. You see. Love the vibes. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Dude, I come in and have fun. And this is, by the way, if anybody, especially the folks that just came in on Rails Tech's stream, when it says Q&A, I totally mean it. Come ask any questions you've got. I have no problem completely derailing the stream to go help somebody walk through stuff. Heck, we had one guy come in that he was worried that he got popped by a phishing campaign. And so we went through and we looked at the stuff and we're helping him figure it out. Super chill guy. Why is this not working? Why is this? We should have seen the new edge happen here. Let me check something real quick. Oh, now it looks like it reloaded. Did it render in here though? Why are you doing this to me? This is not the way. Dude, I gotta tell you something funny. Honey Badger, my 3-year-old son, he freaking loves Knuckles. And so I cannot wait till he's old enough when I can show him Ugandan Knuckles. If I showed it to him right now, all I'd hear for probably the next 6 weeks is, "This is not the way. Do you know the way?" What happened here? Something happened. Let me go and kill the server, because this server has been running for quite a long time. Control C! Die! Yeah, be careful with that internet box, Wusa. If you drop that, the entire internet is gone. By the way, I did add that as a redeem.
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Why is this, like, completely hanging here? Yes. Now, Jen, be very actually, I was trying to find, God, what was the other guy? I can't remember his name. IT crowd. What was his name? Moss, that's it. I was trying to find Moss saying it, but it was always Roy saying it. Dang it. Have I seen the XKCD cartoon for the cloud? I have not. At least I don't remember it offhand. I've seen a ton of them. All right, so something is hanging up just horrible in here. But that's fine. Yeah, terminate. Add this one. I don't remember what the command was that we had. Nope, that's not what I wanted to add. Crap. Yeah. LangGraph something. I can't remember what the heck the command is. Hang on one sec. Let's see. LangGraph Studio. Let's see. I forget what the command is I actually need to run. I haven't had to run it in so friggin' long. I think it's LangGraph dev. Options and then tac C. That's it. Yeah, that's what we. LangGraph dev tac C, and that's going to be in. Where was that? Studio config. Is it LangGraph CLI? Is that it? What am I doing here? I'm losing my mind. What I'm trying to do is get the LangGraph dev server back up. Because I had to kill it. It was chilling for it. It was just not running. Oh, it's tac config. Maybe this is the new or old documentation? There we go. Now we'll let it run. All right. Sounds like Hagrid. All right, well, so thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you. I know it's super late where you're at, but yeah, I said, yeah, hop on the Discord. You can always drop messages in there. I try to keep a close eye on it. Although right now, the pen test I'm on is keeping me very busy, just trying to get everything running. I crashed so many C2 agents on Friday, troubleshooting what's called a beacon object file, or a COF, which is a common object file format. And they're little pieces of, essentially, let's think of them as like shell code that you can load up into your agent, and it can run inside the agent. So it looks a lot less suspicious than trying to like fork a new process and run it. That fork and run gets caught by a lot of stuff. And especially like if I'm running with like a seeded access and they said, hey, by the way, add this payload with these signatures is going to be allowed in the environment until this date. It's like, okay, cool. Then running that inside of that process kind of helps out. And I just cannot. I kept crashing it so bad. It says waiting for application startup. So what is going on? Let me double check something. Make sure my tunnels are set up correctly. What's that? I think it's in it. Yep, we're forwarding the port correctly. I got lucky this month. I could just upload to disk and it runs fine. That was something we had to kind of go back and forth about, was because they're using they've got a pretty well configured EDR, and so what is going on here? For some reason, when I added this edge, it has like completely flipped out on me. Let me comment this out real quick. Three changes detected. What if I need to update that library or that application? Maybe they've made updates to it that will fix this issue. So what's happening here, but for anybody who doesn't know, what I'm doing is I'm running LangGraph's dev server. This actually provides, essentially, I think it's a WebSocket that this page can connect to. I'm port forwarding that WebSocket out of my isolated lab environment because over SSH. So that way this browser window can actually talk to it. Unfortunately, looks like it is just not having a good time. Also, this box has not been restarted in a long time. I might just need to go push some of this stuff up to the repo and then make it work. The rules on the Discord are funny. I'm glad you like them. I tried to make it also very like customizable, where like if you wanted to get live stream notifications, you could. If you didn't, you can block them. That's fine. And have lots of places to like just go and either post interesting things for other to share with folks or discuss things. I wonder what is happening here. Let's see, what is the install? Pip install. I want to go check and see which version of LangGraph we're actually running, because maybe that will help fix this. Maybe we need to update it. This is just spazzing out. Try something. Okay, so here's our LangGraph dev. And it is just not having a good time. Chris, what's up, dude? Sorry, I didn't see your first message go there. I'm loyal to this community largely because of the humor available. I mean, dude, I try to have fun. It's good to get to come on and interact with folks. Let people see that, you know, because I've been in IT for professionally. I've been messing with computers my entire life. I've been in IT professionally for 15 years now. And half of that time has been in offensive security. So I feel like I've got a lot of information that I can help share with folks. Why the heck is this darn server? Okay, it did finally exit. Okay. Try something. Hey, Dodge, thanks for coming online, man. Appreciate it. Let me check something real quick. History graph, LangGraph. We did poetry add, LangGraph, CLI. All right, so let me see what version of LangGraph this is. go. So let's check the version real fast, and we'll go see what the latest version is. Like maybe we can update it. Version 0189. Now this is essentially what we were just looking at correctly. What's our version of? Let's see, how did I install it again? Let's see. Did it through Poetry Add. Oh wait, that was not what I was looking for though. Let me go find out where that is. Did I do it through pip? I guess I must have. Pip update. I forgot how to do that. Alright, so just pip install tech upgrade. Let me try that real quick. But I'm gonna do it over here. When was the last time I ran pip? Let me think. I haven't run it at all. Okay. What did we say it was? Hang on. Tech upgrade. Let's go ahead and see if we can upgrade this. LangGraph CLI. Yep. Oh, it's because I think I was using pip X. Odd. Oh, it's pipx upgrade. That's what we want to do. Slightly different syntax. It's not installed. Did I do a Poetry global install? Was that what I did? Oh, let me try something. Which LangGraph? Did I literally just install it into the virtual environment? Was that what I did? Is that why I'm not finding it? I did. It's in the virtual environment. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Poetry update pack. Okay, very simple. Poetry update. Got it. What we'll do is we'll do Poetry update. LangGraph seal. Alright, so we should be good there. So there's no updates. We're on the latest version of the LangGraph CLI. Ah, that's why. I forgot this very important command right here. So, what we'd have to tell it is, by default, when the LangGraph dev server kicks up, it binds to the local loopback. We need to actually bind on all hosts. That's why it was failing on us. So, what we'll do is tell it host quad zeros. See if it'll actually work. All right, Oni. Thanks, man. Gotta see what the wife wants. Guess she's got to poop. Damn it, Oni. All right, dude. Have a good night, man. Thanks for stopping in. You always appreciate you. All right. Let me check something else here. See if we can figure out where this is going. Let's do... Do I even have netstat? I do. Sweet. Netstat. Light. Grep. I think we should be listening on port 2024. Let's see if it's... Worst case scenario is I go commit everything to GitHub and then we reboot the system. Which is always dicey because this particular computer, this interface I'm using for remote access is Chasm VNC and it never wants to start up correctly. I always have to like restart it a couple times. It's a pain in the butt. Oh, 2020, yeah, netstat should show that. Do something else. What if we grep for quad zeros? Because this should be listening on all interfaces. Yeah, I think what's happening is... So we're getting some kind of connection timeout, but what is the connection it's trying to have here? All right, so this shouldn't be calling back. It's kind of basically it's failed out. I think what's happening is it's trying to make a call out to the internet and it's not working. We'll see if that's working. Curl ifconfig.me. All right, so web calls are working. We do have internet reachability. Agent, exploit, agent, import, exploit graph. So for some reason, something in the exploit graph is causing it to positively lose its mind. I thought it might have been this right here. So for some reason, something we added over in the exploit graph is making it very unhappy. That's what, while this thinks about it, we'll read through the error. We'll try to do a stack trace on it. We'll see what's happening with it. I gotta go take care of something. I'll be right back. Cypher, I wasn't pooping. Just want you to know that, for the record. Oh, you're killing me. Hey, Extra, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome. Alright. Let's see what's happening here. I think actually I may know what the issue is. Not pooping. No shit. You're killing me, bud. Alright, so for some reason the request is failing. Actually, I think I might know what this is. So run executor. Okay, so for some reason, from exploit agent line 10. Wait, what? How did that get in here? What the heck? What the heck is this? From tester import response? No. Oh, I think I know what happened. I can't say that name. Levinkle? Lebink? No, wait, I see it now. Binkle. V-neck. V-neck. I'm gonna go with that. Thanks for coming online. Welcome in, and happy Saturday. Okay, I know what happened here. So this is an ID10T error. Yep. This is an ID10T error. So what happened? Damn it. Let's see. Chen, thanks for coming on live. Welcome in. Chino? Incio. I'm gonna go with that. Thank you for coming on live. Welcome in. All right, so what happened? There was a poison pill in here. So we had this line from tester import response. What happened? As I'm down here writing the validator code, I see what happened. The validator code has, we use this variable response. We hadn't declared it. It didn't know what to happen. So over here we've got this tester Python script, right? We had response in here. It tried to help and be auto magical auto import response. And this just completely BTFO'd everything I was doing. For some reason. So now that that's good, I'm going to uncomment out this. I thought this was the line that broke it. This shows that maybe I should just RTF error codes a little bit better. Hey, Deb, what's up, man? Burn the beer. No! Pooping's a great way to solve a tough problem.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Oh, jeez. All right. So now let's go take a look at. Let's refresh the Langsmith server. Okay, now we're looking a little bit less convoluted. So, although I don't see why exploit agent has. I don't see why it has a conditional edge to handoff though. Oh, it does because these conditional edges are actually coming from the router. There's a hidden function in here that is like the router function, and that's what's drawing all these edges. That's what's happening here. So all these dotted edges you see here, those are routed functions. It goes through, it does some logic checks, and it decides where to send it. Yeah. That was funny. That was annoying as all crap. Okay. Is our Try Hack Me box even still online? It is. Okay, sweet. So maybe we can actually get a little bit of a test out of this. Let's come back over here. Let's go ahead and submit this, and let's just see what happens. Immediately, we got an error. This is not bueno. What is the error that we got here? Line 107 in the exploit agent, exploit task. Why the heck would that cause an issue? Object's not iterable? What? What? What error did it say it was? It said it was on line 107? It imports the language model config from the configuration file. What the heck? That's the weirdest error. It is totally it's not supposed to be iterable. What the heck? Well, let me back this up a little bit. So, we're defining a new language model with a tool bind to it. We're binding the exploit task. Just take this out. We don't need that. What is LLM supposed to be defined as here? Yeah, it's a base chat model, which because if we go up here to where LLM was imported, it's this guy right here. It's a chat model from the config file. But what is happening? Quit scrolling. I've done something. I've upset the machine. For some reason, it's just happening on this one. Okay, apparently it just really wanted to see the end of the file. All right. That's weird. Yeah, because here's the language model right here. It's our default language model, which is just our chat anthropic instantiation. What the crap? Why are you doing this to me? Actually, let's look at this real quick. So the exploit agent comes through and passes it to... Let's look at the state here. View state. We look at our messages down here at the end. So right there. So exploit agent says, hey, by the way, I'm going to pass it to validator for a pre-flight check. Validator says, hey, there's no initial access payload available, so we're going to pass it back to the exploit agent. For some reason, when it goes back to the exploit agent, it absolutely flips out. Let me check something real quick here. Just for grins and giggles. Alright, I'm going to leave this up because we actually will see the errors come through in the console log. And let's go run this one more time. So now it's saying it's on, well, it's on line 106. Oh, Oh, so for some reason it's saying for tool in tools, type dict meta object is not iterable. So it's not this area that it's messing with. It is actually something in the chat model.py. So it doesn't like how we're passing the tools over to it. Wait, that's so weird though, because there's nothing that should be modifying the tool structure for what we're passing to the language model. RB tools is here. Oh, let's take a look at this real quick. 107. Actually, it's 106 now. The music fits. Yeah, no kidding. We're fighting the boss, right? Exploit task shouldn't have a problem with this. This is a typed dictionary. Oh, you know what? I think the problem is where we're importing that exploit task. I don't think that's supposed to come from... Yeah, this comes from util states. I think that's the problem. Because we can look at this same line. It should be around that. And let's look at the recon agent for comparison. So over here in the recon agent... Where would that be? Because we did this one slightly differently. I think the problem might be how exploit task is actually defined. I think it's because that's not an iterable. Because the way this is functioning, we're binding a tool to it so that we can get the tool call back out of it. Yeah, that's what's happening. So our response is invoke with retries. We look at the response for the tool calls. The problem is this is actually expecting... This is expecting an array here, what's happening. So it's trying to iterate over a non-existent array. That's what's happening. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. So new task. Try it again. All right, so exploit agent should be making a language model call. It already rendered that the verdict is exploitable. Hold on. Let me come back over here. Freaking hallucinations. Look at this. So let's look at what we told it. So our system prompt. You're a cybersecurity expert specializing in finding exploits for initial access to a target. Your job is to analyze the task and target data to speculate on exploits that could be viable. Additional context might be reply. So what is our output here? AI says I'll analyze the information provided to identify possible exploits for getting remote code execution from a web shell. Based on the context, I can see that there's a target IP running Apache 2429. There's a file upload functionality at panel. There's an uploads directory that likely will store the uploaded files. 4 is the goal is to get remote code execution from a web shell. This suggests we need to 1. Upload a PHP web shell through the file upload form. Good logic. And 2. Access the uploaded shell to execute commands. Very nice. So what does it reply back to us? It replies back to us one exploit task. So we call this task ID 1 here. Says the status is working. It automatically verdicted as exploitable. Oh, geez. What are our subtasks here that it's got? Okay. We'll probably need to go through and work on the subtask a wee bit. But hey, this is cool, though, because we're finally making a little bit of progress on the exploitation agent. Sweet. Subtask is absolutely bananas. Let me go look at something real quick. So the exploit task here, we had subtask, which is a list of mini tasks, but it did not return us a list of these mini tasks. what it returned instead. And here was what we called a mini task. So it was meant to be like, hey, these are individual steps that you should try to go execute whenever you're trying to exploit the system. That was the idea of it. Let's see. Tools used to complete the task. So this was basically a minified version of this structure here. Right, cool. Well, at least we're getting somewhere. The question is, why did it come back like this? This is, unfortunately, like completely foobar. Let's go see if we can clean this formatting up a bit and look at it. So for some reason, subtask here is so weird. That's all right. Let's see if we can clean this up just a wee bit. Let's. I don't want to do this. Actually, let me try this real quick. I'm going to take this section right here. And what we'll do is we're going to say that this is now JSON, just to get a little bit better situation. And what I want to do is just format this task right here. Let's find and actually replace with. Find all those and actually replace them with new lines. There we go. And let's find anywhere we had a backslash, double quote, replace that with a double quote. Let's just clean it up a bit. There we go. So it looks ugly because it's like, hey, this is not proper JSON. That's fine. All right, so for our subtask, it actually returned a task, upload PHP web shell to gain RCE, status working, tool, reverse shell generator, file upload bypass. So we'll actually have to go get it some tools that we can actually let it use. Actually, this is not bad because what we could do is we could say, hey, by the way, this was the tool that was requested, but we don't have one. Find an equivalent tool. In this case, it would be our web shell tool that the web shell tool that we just made last stream. And then file upload bypass. I don't know what you're wanting to do with that, but this is actually pretty cool though. Create a simple PHP web shell command. And it actually gives us the command here. Echo this over to web shell. Yep. Try direct upload a php.shell to panel using a curl command. All right. If direct upload fails, try file extension bypasses. Ooh, nice. It actually thought about that. Cool. It's going to upload it to php.jpg. Be funny. So maybe I'm thinking about this a little bit wrong because I'm trying to think of what's next step should we take. And really, I think what we should do is for the mini task, maybe we actually don't need this. Actually, hold on. Output shouldn't have been populated yet. Why is this all coming back in the output array? Hold on. How did I define the output array? This is so weird. Dr. Lou, thanks for coming online. Welcome in and happy Saturday. Or Sunday, depending on your time zone. Let's see. I think actually what we might need to do is something that we did with some of these other ones where you see how this is just a very basic class definition. There is something called an annotated version. Like this one right here. So the annotated type, you can actually tell it kind of what you're doing. Actually, where's a better example? Here we go. So in the host type, when you annotate something, you tell it the type, what the default value is, and then a description of that field in here. So let's try modifying mini task to fit that kind of scenario. So we'll do annotated string type, and this would be let's see. What do I call this? The description for the mini task. This was actually a part of exploit task up here. So really, hold on, let me back that change out real quick. I'm gonna leave that. And then let's go at the exploit task real fast. This is what we need to do. So yes, this is what we want. In fact, this will actually work out pretty well because we can just say this is annotated and the type will be an integer. Default, if you put 3 dots for the default, it just accepts it and says basically no default value. But really, I think I want the default value to maybe be 0. Index reference to the state task list. Oh, okay. So this should actually reference task number 5 in this case. So task 5 is the one where we actually say, hey, go exploit the web server, get your web shell on there and do its thing. So that's fine, actually. We can leave that as is and we can go clean it up. That's no problem. Another thing we could also do, something we did in output formatters was we made like a host stub. Is that what we did? How did I do that? Yeah. Basically, we know what certain values are going to be. There's just other ones that we want to get back. Like, for example, the subtask, which would be a list of these mini tasks right here. So really, I'm thinking about this a little bit differently, and this is probably where we'll wrap up for tonight because it is getting kind of late, unfortunately. So this reflection agent here, or actor, I think what we might want to do is go through and implement this similar logic into the exploitation agent, where the initial response would be, hey, just create a list of tasks with very simply, and then we'll handle the code taking those and fitting them into the data model, the state table, ourselves. But then as we come through, it's like, okay, let's go through the first task. What tools do we need to execute? Okay, cool. Did we have an error? Did it complete successfully? Could we revise on this? Okay, cool. Here's our revised response. Let's move on to the next task, yada, yada. So we're going to make a loop here to kind of iterate over each of those tasks as we do it. Yep. So that'll probably where we start off tomorrow night. Is we'll kind of rework how the exploit and mini task interact with one another. And probably we don't even need the status here. I think we'll be good without that. But at least the good thing is we're making progress towards in the right direction for the what is this? For the exploitation agent. It's actually starting to process and return stuff. We're just going to have to walk it along as we do it. All right. Good times. Good times. Let's see if anybody's over on InfoSec stream. 0x Trust is on. What is he working on? Looks like he's doing more Hack the Box. Yeah, what you working on, Trust? He's doing some fun stuff. Cool. He will get first dibs because I really like InfoSec streams. By the way, I haven't plugged InfoSec streams in a bit. If you like cybersecurity stuff, check this out. There's a lot more people usually on during the daytime. They'll come in and you'll see this list very more populated. Unfortunately, there's just usually 1 or 2 of us on in the evenings. This is late night in the United States where most of the streamers are. So if you are in an area outside of the US, if you're in the European area or Australia, feel free to hop onto this list. It's very simple. You go to GitHub, you submit a pull request with your info, and then boom, you're good. Actually, someone already submitted one in here. So literally all you do is you go edit the CSV file that's in here, and you just add your info in here. This is your Twitch name. This is your YouTube site. All right, let's go see if Pentester Network is on real quick. They happen to be on. I will get them a pre-run. Fortunately, Pentester Network is not. That's all right. We'll go right over to Trust, though. We'll get him. See, he's over in Science and Tech, doing stuff. All right. Let's go hit him up. By the way, guys, when y'all get in there, drop the happy hackers, drop the cookie monsters, show them a little bit of compassion there, a little bit of love. But unfortunately, guys, that's kind of like we're at a natural stopping spot. We're finally starting to see like some data come back, even though it's junk data, but that's okay. We needed some runs so we could see where the language model is kind of taking it, so we can guide it in the correct direction. But it's like I said, working with these language models is like you're working with a hyper intelligent 4-year-old. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna provide our little 4-year-old some guidance. Wait, that's the wrong button. There we go. But that's all I got for you tonight, guys. Everybody, thanks for coming in and hanging out, especially all you folks from outside the United States. I love it. I'm glad y'all get to come in and chill out. It's a great time. Hopefully, if I can get over to that side of the planet, it'll be fun. I've unfortunately never gotten to really travel much outside the U.S. except to Mexico. So, all right. We'll kick off the raid here in just a second. Like I said, when you get in there, do me a favor, drop a bunch of happy hackers or cookie monsters. Those are always my favorite. And I think that's pretty much what I got for you tonight, everyone. Have a very happy Sunday tomorrow, if it is your Sunday, or Monday, potentially. And just keep being great. You guys are awesome. I super appreciate everyone coming to hang out because y'all just make the night so fun. It really helps out a lot. And, oh, I almost forgot the most important thing, which is I love you. Peace.